Hey all, so for context, my 32-year-old male girlfriend, 34-year-old female, is a very extroverted and social person. We've been dating for about 9 months, and things are going really well. We're even moving in together later this summer, which is a first for both of us. Neither of us have had a really intense adult relationship before, more casual flings or surface-level dating. Anyway, there's this guy, 34-year-old male, she's friends of friends with that we see at most of her many parties. Let's call him Bill. He's a nice guy, affable, and very social as well. I am more introverted and quiet, though around people I'm comfortable with, I can get boisterous and jokey. He's not especially inappropriate, but he does call my girlfriend babe a lot. I don't know if he calls other people or other women that. Truly, I don't know him that well. But we were at a pool party over Memorial Day weekend, and she was sitting on a stool and they were talking. He said she would look good in his bucket hat. She said she used to wear bucket hats, so he put it on her. Nothing too wrong there. But they were taking pictures of her wearing it, and she put her hand on his arm and laughed about it. In the past, she has said she's not very physically affectionate. So in that context, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then he put his hand on her leg, like upper thigh, and made her laugh. That was it, the whole interaction. I don't want to make a big deal of a thing that isn't a big deal, but I'm not sure if I should talk to her about it. I don't recall anything like this happening in the past, but if it did, I either didn't see it or it didn't bother me at the time. Not sure why it would now, though. In my more paranoid moments, I wonder if they were a thing in the past. Which, if they were, hey, that's none of my business. They seem to have a healthy platonic friendship. Basically, I don't know how to proceed with this, or if there's anything to even do about it. Should I talk to her about it? Now, for an update, I talked to her and it went really well. She acknowledged why that would be upsetting and said that she would pay attention to that in the future. She also apologized for giving Bill some mixed signals and asked what I would need from her to make me feel more secure in the relationship. I wouldn't say that it's totally resolved. We're still going to talk about it more later, but it went way better than I thought it would. Thanks to everyone who gave level-headed and mature advice. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Honestly, it sounds like Bill is just a little too comfortable around your girlfriend. It's understandable that it would make you uncomfortable, but try not to jump to conclusions about their past. It's important to communicate with your girlfriend and express how you feel, but don't let it turn into a bigger issue than it needs to be. If anything, maybe try talking to Bill and setting some boundaries with him. But definitely don't let this ruin your moving in plans. Comment 2. She didn't do anything wrong. But since you both are new to the serious relationship thing, your discomfort is understandable. I think you're okay to say, hey, I'm new at this serious relationship thing. So you another guy calling you babe just hits me differently now that we're a for-real couple. Can we save that kind of stuff for each other? You did nothing wrong, just asking. Edited to indicate the rando is the one calling her babe. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. So, after our initial conversation about Bill, things seemed to settle down for a bit. We continued with our plans to move in together, and I felt like we were in a good place. But then, last weekend, something happened that threw me for a loop. We were at another one of her social gatherings, this time a barbecue at her friend's house. Bill was there, of course. I tried to keep my cool and not let my insecurities get the best of me. Everything was going fine until later in the evening when I noticed Bill and my girlfriend talking in the corner of the yard. They were laughing and seemed to be having a good time, which normally wouldn't bother me. But then I saw Bill lean in and whisper something in her ear. She laughed and playfully swatted his arm. It felt like deja vu from the pool party incident. I tried to brush it off, but it was gnawing at me. I decided to join them and see if I could get a read on the situation. As I walked over, Bill excused himself to grab another drink, leaving me alone with my girlfriend. I asked her what they were talking about, and she said it was just a funny story from work. I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. The next day, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their relationship than she was letting on. I decided to talk to her again, but this time, I wanted to be more direct. I asked her if there was ever anything between her and Bill. She hesitated for a moment before admitting that they had dated briefly a few years ago. She assured me that it was ancient history and that they were just friends now, but I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. As the week went on, I found myself becoming more and more paranoid. I started noticing little things that I hadn't paid attention to before, like how often they texted or how she seemed to light up when he was around. I didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend, but I couldn't help it. I felt like I was losing my grip on the situation. Then, a few days ago, I came home from work to find my girlfriend sitting on the couch, looking upset. She told me that Bill had confessed that he still had feelings for her and wanted to know if there was any chance they could get back together. She said she told him that she was happy with me and that there was no chance of them rekindling their romance. But the whole thing left me feeling uneasy. I didn't know what to do. On one hand, I wanted to trust her and believe that she was being honest with me. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that Bill was a threat to our relationship. I felt like I was being forced to make a hard choice, either trust her completely and risk getting hurt, or confront Bill and potentially cause a rift in our social circle. I decided to talk to my girlfriend about how I was feeling. I told her that I was struggling with jealousy and that I needed some reassurance. She was understanding and said that she would do whatever it took to make me feel secure in our relationship. She even offered to cut back on her interactions with Bill if that would help. But before I could even process that, something else happened. My girlfriend's best friend, who we'll call Sarah, pulled me aside at another gathering and told me that she had seen Bill trying to kiss my girlfriend at the barbecue. She said my girlfriend had pushed him away and told him it wasn't going to happen, but it still left me feeling betrayed. Why hadn't my girlfriend told me about this? I confronted my girlfriend about it, and she admitted that it had happened, but said she didn't want to make a big deal out of it because she didn't want to cause drama. She apologized for not telling me and promised that she would be more open with me in the future. I appreciated her honesty, but it still hurt. As we talked more, I learned that my girlfriend had a history of being too nice and not wanting to hurt people's feelings, which sometimes led to situations like this. She told me about a time in college when she had stayed friends with an ex who kept trying to win her back, and how it had caused problems in her next relationship. She said she didn't want to repeat those mistakes and was committed to making our relationship work. I realized that I needed to work on my own insecurities and trust issues if we were going to move forward. We decided to set some boundaries with Bill and focus on strengthening our relationship. My girlfriend agreed to limit her interactions with him and to be more transparent with me about their conversations. In the end, I think this whole situation has brought us closer together. We've had some tough conversations, but I feel like we're on the same page now. We're still planning to move in together, and I'm hopeful that we can put this behind us and build a strong, trusting relationship. Thanks for reading. Aita for resenting my wife for dragging me back to the US and then getting close to a singer. I would rather like outside advice, because I'm not even sure why this is happening to me. A bit of background. I'm a 32-year-old woman in the music industry, music producer, touring DJ. I'm married to another woman, 40 years old, lawyer, student. My wife is from Mexico, I'm from the US. We met in the US, and a few months into dating, she had visa issues and had to go back. So I moved to Mexico, didn't know the language until maybe a year into it. I was very depressed, lonely. Back home, I had a ton of friends, was super outgoing, social, hardworking. In Mexico, I met a lot of amazing people, but my life revolved around my wife's. Finally, years after getting married, she got her green card, and we moved back to the city we met in. I didn't want to move back. Even though I was depressed, we had now bought a home in Mexico, had our fur babies, and I was finally getting accustomed to life there. She told me I could come or go, but she was going. I guess that made me a bit resentful. Before, we at least laughed and traveled together. Now, every time she travels with me, she seems annoyed by the plane seats, the hotel, the Ubers, the walking, just literally everything. There are other incidents along the way, but currently I'm working as a touring music artist and she works as a student. And during the week, we both work at a family business. Finances are actually quite challenging due to debts we'd acquired quite a while back, which stresses both of us out extremely. Her mom and sister are also staying with us for another month and have been staying with us this past month in our tiny apartment. That adds to it for me, not for her. Anyway, to the point, I just worked with the singer who I like. Maybe 10 years ago, she had an album come out that was popular worldwide that I enjoyed, but that was it. Even though we're in different genres, her manager and my manager both had the idea that we could work well together. So we did a track together. Everything was through our managers, so we hadn't actually had any personal contact until last weekend, where her manager asked me to come to one of her performances and meet her. I went to take a photo with her, and she invited me to her trailer, and we chatted for maybe 15 minutes. Her talent, her unwavering attention to everything I had to say, her personality, appreciation for my music, and the nice little direct message she sent me after meeting, all really drew me in. Embarrassingly so, because I'm married and hardly know this person. This is not a regular occurrence for me to feel this way. I feel kind of creepy, to be honest. The fact that she shows no interest is messing with my head. And I should not care anyway? She knows I have a wife, I'm sure, as my wife was talking to her friends outside. I don't know what's going on, but I was okay before meeting her. Since then, I've genuinely been feeling depressed. Maybe it's obvious to you guys what's wrong here. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. LOL. Everybody tells OP not to cheat and that the grass is not always greener on the other side, while OP tried so hard to tell us why her wife is mean and bad. Still, we wouldn't let her cheat. OP, crushes are normal, just do not go after them. Keep distance. Also, maybe end the relationship with your wife. Comment 2. If you are unhappy with your marriage, leave. Do not bring a third party into the mix. You feel resentment towards your wife for the way she is acting, for the way she is when she is supposed to be relaxing. You don't feel the enjoyment you used to feel in the relationship. Choose to fix it or end it. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. So, the past week has been well. Interesting of emotions and events. After meeting that singer, I couldn't shake off the feelings she stirred up in me. It was like a switch flipped, and I started questioning everything about my life and marriage. I tried to focus on my work, but my mind kept drifting back to that brief encounter. It was driving me nuts. On Monday, I had a gig in a nearby city. My wife couldn't come because she had a big exam the next day. I thought the time apart might help clear my head, but it only made things worse. During my set, I kept looking out into the crowd, half expecting to see the singer's face. It was ridiculous. After the show, I got a message from her manager saying she loved our track and wanted to collaborate again. I should have been thrilled, but instead, I felt this weird mix of excitement and guilt. When I got back home, the tension was clear. My wife's mom and sister were still staying with us, and the cramped space was getting to everyone. My wife seemed more stressed than usual, snapping at me over little things. I knew it wasn't just about the crowded apartment or her studies. There was something deeper going on, but I couldn't bring myself to ask. By Wednesday, things hit a breaking point. I was working on a new track when my wife came home from class, visibly upset. She didn't say anything at first, just went straight to our room and slammed the door. I followed her, trying to figure out what was wrong. After a lot of prodding, she finally broke down and admitted she felt like we were drifting apart. She noticed I was distant and preoccupied, and it was making her feel insecure. I wanted to tell her everything, but I couldn't. Instead, I reassured her that I was just stressed about work and the debts we were dealing with. It was a half-truth, but it seemed to calm her down a bit. We decided to spend the evening together, just the two of us, to try and reconnect. It was nice, but there was still this underlying tension that neither of us could ignore. Thursday was a disaster. I had a meeting with my manager about the upcoming tour, and he mentioned that the singer wanted to join for a few dates. My heart skipped a beat. I knew this could be a huge opportunity for my career, but it also felt like playing with fire. I told my manager I'd think about it, but I knew I had to make a decision soon. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the past few days in my head, trying to make sense of my feelings. I realized I was at a crossroads. I could either pursue this collaboration and risk my marriage, or I could turn it down and focus on fixing things at home. It was a hard choice, but I knew I had to make it. On Friday, I decided to talk to my wife. I didn't tell her everything, but I did open up about feeling overwhelmed and confused. I told her about the opportunity to tour with the singer and how it could be a big break for me. To my surprise, she was supportive. She said she understood how important my career was and that she trusted me to make the right decision. Her support gave me the clarity I needed. I decided to go on the tour, but set clear boundaries with the singer. I made it clear that our collaboration was strictly professional and that I was committed to my marriage. It was a tough conversation, but she respected my decision. Over the weekend, my wife and I had some deep conversations about our relationship. We acknowledged the issues we were facing and agreed to work on them together. We also decided to set some boundaries with her family, asking them to give us more space. It was a difficult conversation, but they understood and agreed to find their own place soon. By Sunday, things were starting to look up. My wife and I spent the day together, just enjoying each other's company. It felt like a fresh start. I knew we still had a lot of work to do, but for the first time in a while, I felt hopeful. Looking back, I realized that meeting the singer was a wake-up call. It forced me to confront the issues in my marriage and make some tough decisions. It wasn't easy, but it led to a positive outcome. My wife and I are now more committed to each other than ever, and I'm excited about the future of my career. Thanks for reading. Aita for confronting my cheating father and demanding he fix his marriage. So I think my father's having an affair, but I'm still not sure if it's true or not. I've not spoken to him about the issue. I'm 25 years old male. What made me suspicious? Let's assume the woman is X with whom I am suspecting. She is a married woman who used to live in another city where we used to live like 20 years ago. X called my father today in the evening, but he had gone to the grocery store, so the phone was kept near me. And I don't know why, but I felt something was wrong because a few days ago X called him, and then they were talking, but not in front of me. It was not normal according to me. He immediately got up and went outside. Coming to today when X called him, I purposely picked up the phone and I didn't speak anything. I wanted to see if the caller was a man or a woman because the number was saved with the surname only, and we know a lot of people with that exact surname. There was no response from the other side and the call was cut. Again, she called after 5 minutes. Again, I didn't speak anything, and again the call was cut. This made me very suspicious. I dialed that number on my Truecaller, and the number was from that same woman. Then he came into the house, and I asked him who his surname. He told me maybe someone from our previous hometown. I said, okay. He tried calling that number in front of me, but he said there is no network. He had gone outside without saying anything to me, and when he came back, I checked his phone. He deleted that number from the call history. Like, there was no reason for anyone to delete a number from their call history. I'm literally terrified now because I don't know what to do or how to confront him. My parents' relationship was not good for many years. My mother is the toxic one in this case, and my father is literally the perfect man, the perfect ideal husband. He always loved us, but the marriage is pretty much over. They're just living together because of me. But I don't know why he did this to us. I guess because of a bad marriage after so many years, he acted like this. But still, I'm not in support of cheating irrespective of reasons, because nothing justifies cheating. Like, I'm not still sure about everything. I don't know if I'm overthinking or not. Should I talk to my elder sister about this issue? I don't know what to do. I am feeling very anxious. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My mother is toxic in this case, and my father is literally the perfect man, the perfect ideal husband. He always loved us. Comment 2. Mention the same thing to your mother, without any assumptions, and let her connect the dots. Let her decide if she wants to share with you any confirmation of assumptions and suspicions. Exactly. Just give her the facts, and let her make a choice for herself. Now for the update, thanks for reading my last post. So, a lot has happened in the past 3 months, and things have gotten pretty complicated. After that incident with the phone call, I decided to keep a closer eye on my dad. I didn't confront him right away because I wasn't sure how to approach this situation. Instead, I started paying more attention to his behavior and any unusual activities. It didn't take long for me to notice that he was spending more time away from home, often with vague excuses about work or errands. This only fueled my suspicions further. One evening, I overheard my parents having a heated argument. My mom was accusing my dad of being distant and secretive. and my dad was trying to defend himself, but he didn't sound very convincing. It was clear that their relationship was deteriorating even more. I felt torn because I didn't want to take sides, but I also couldn't ignore what I had discovered. A few weeks later, I decided to talk to my elder sister about the situation. I needed someone to confide in, and I hoped she could offer some advice. When I told her about my suspicions and the phone calls, she was shocked but not entirely surprised. She admitted that she had noticed some odd behavior from our dad as well, but hadn't thought much of it until now. We agreed to keep an eye on him and gather more information before making any decisions. Around this time, I started noticing that my dad was receiving more calls and messages from unknown numbers. He was also being more secretive with his phone, often taking it with him everywhere he went. One day, I managed to sneak a peek at his phone while he was in the shower. I found several messages from ex, and it was clear from their content that their relationship was more than just friendly. My heart sank as I realized that my worst fears were coming true. My sister and I decided it was time to confront our dad. We sat him down one evening and told him what we had discovered. At first, he tried to deny everything, but when we showed him the messages, he couldn't keep up the facade any longer. He admitted to having an affair with ex and explained that he had reconnected with her a few months ago. He claimed that he was unhappy in his marriage and that ex had been a source of comfort and support for him. Hearing this was devastating. I felt betrayed and hurt, not just for myself, but for my mom as well. My sister was equally upset, and we both struggled to process the information. We demanded that our dad end the affair immediately and try to work on his marriage, but he seemed hesitant. He said he needed time to think and left the house, leaving us feeling even more uncertain about the future. In the following weeks, things only got worse. My mom found out about the affair, and the tension in the house reached an all-time high. She was furious and heartbroken, and their arguments became more frequent and intense. My dad moved out temporarily, saying he needed space to figure things out. This left my mom, sister, and me to deal with the fallout. During this time, I started reflecting on my parents' relationship and my own feelings about the situation. I realized that my dad's affair had been a symptom of a much deeper problem in their marriage. My mom's toxic behavior had pushed him away, and he had sought solace in someone else. While I still didn't condone his actions, I began to understand the reasons behind them. As I delved deeper into my parents' past, I discovered some troubling information. My mom had a history of emotional abuse stemming from her own traumatic childhood. She had never sought help for her issues, and they had manifested in her relationship with my dad. This revelation made me feel a mix of anger and sadness. I was angry at my mom for not addressing her problems and sad for my dad, who had endured years of emotional pain. Despite this newfound understanding, the situation at home continued to deteriorate. My dad's absence took a toll on my mom's mental health, and she became more volatile and unpredictable. My sister and I tried to support her, but it was difficult to navigate the constant tension and conflict. One day, my dad returned home, saying he had ended things with ex and wanted to work on his marriage. My mom was skeptical but agreed to give it a try. They started attending couples therapy, and for a while it seemed like things might improve. However, the damage had already been done, and the trust between them was shattered. As the weeks went by, it became clear that their efforts to repair their relationship were not enough. The arguments continued, and my dad seemed increasingly unhappy. My mom's behavior didn't improve, and she continued to lash out at him. It was a painful and exhausting cycle that left everyone feeling drained and hopeless. In the end, my parents decided to separate. My dad moved out permanently, and my mom was left to cope with the aftermath. My sister and I tried to support both of them, but it was difficult to balance our own lives with the constant drama and emotional turmoil. Looking back, I can't help but feel a sense of loss and sadness. My family has been torn apart, and the future feels uncertain. I still struggle with feelings of betrayal and anger, but I also understand that my parents' relationship was deeply flawed, and that their separation might be the best thing for everyone involved. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.